Thank you, Dennis. Well, I'm Rasel Parvej. Probably all of you already know. Just a little bit of my background. I'm from originally Bangladesh, then came to United States 2012, got PhD from University of Arkansas, and joined with LSU since October 2019. It's been over a year. So what we're going to talk about today is our nitrogen management. That's most yield-limiting nutrient for any crop production, especially for corn. So we're going to talk about a little bit that's how we can manage well. That's the outline of my talk today, to look at the common nutrient deficiencies in crop that occurs in Louisiana, then talk about the nutrient uptake and accumulation like across the season, then talk about our typical nutrient management practices that we have currently available. We do little bit side dress, pre-plant, also do starter and go before trusseling. Then talk about, this is very important, talk about the new way to look at nitrogen management by tissue testing, also by the reference step. And at the end, I'll conclude the take-home messages. So let's talk about the common nutrient deficiencies that we often see in Louisiana corn production. The nitrogen, obviously the first one. Then I have seen phosphorus also in Dr. Trey Price plot. I have seen last year phosphorus deficiency. Potassium is very obvious. You see, also we do see in Louisiana soil the sulfur one. Whatever soil I sampled last year, I see the sulfur concentration is a single digit. That means if you have less than 10 ppm sulfur, you get to pay attention to that sulfur. Also, we do see not very often, but zinc is another nutrient. We need to pay attention to it. So what's the total nutrient uptake for the corn to make over 200 bushels yield? So we see we need around 250 unit nitrogen that ties up 60% to the grain and about 40% to the plant residues. How we provide this 250 pounds? To make this 225 pounds, we usually recommend 1 pound per bushel. 1 pound to 1.25 pounds per bushel, depends on your soil type. We need more nitrogen for clay than the silt loam. Then also the point I'm trying to make from this, you need to pay attention to other nutrient. How much we got more potassium than the nitrogen. If you like to make your 225 bushels yield, and if you provide only your nitrogen, that's the most critical or limiting, and you don't pay attention to the other nutrient, you're not going to make this. You're not going to go there. So pay attention to the other nutrient. You look at your soil test reports that figure out whether you need to put the other nutrient with your nitrogen. So what's the dry matter accumulation? How the corn dry matter accumulation? That's your dry matter in pounds per acre. That's your growth stage. The point I'm trying to make how much dry matter is accumulated? Probably nothing. Then it kicks on here exactly B7 to B8 stage. So that stage, that dry matter accumulation kicks on. We need to pay attention to that stage to do anything to make our over 200 plus bushels yield. Let's look at our seasonal nitrogen uptake. That's your 250 pound nitrogen that's accumulated across season. What's the similarity over here? Again, the same point I'm trying to make. See this V6 to V8 stage where the nitrogen accumulation kicks in. So you make sure in your nitrogen management program, you have enough nitrogen in this region. Also, you have enough nitrogen to reach to your destination. So this is very important when 20% nitrogen accumulation occur, and after that, rest of the nitrogen accumulation occurs. Well, there is another point over here. After at B10, like R1 stage or before silking, you still see there is more than 50% nitrogen accumulation occurs after silking or after tasseling. So you need to make sure you provide enough nitrogen here. You need to make sure you need to provide enough nitrogen to complete your cycle. So let's look at the corn yield component, how it's happening across the season. The first thing is we put the seed, right? Then it's fixed the plant population. Also during the season, it's fixed the year per plant. Very early stage is fixed. Then at V6 to V7 stage, you basically how many rows of the year would be, the kernel rows would be, it's gonna fixed there. It's not gonna, so after V7 stage to V10 stage, see your potential kernels per row fixed. And after that, after V15, your how many harvestable kernels you got, that's fixed. So my point is, you need to pay attention to this critical stage to make sure you doesn't run out any nutrient, especially nitrogen. So how our nitrogen timing should look like? Well, if we put something, so we can cover until V6 stage to get this yield component fixed. Then if we put something at V6, V7 stage, then we can potentially get that kernels per row. This is that's the yield we are getting at the end of the harvest, right? The kernels per row. Then at V10 stage, if we don't provide enough, or if something happened during the season, let's say you got excessive rainfall, you got low, like a sandy texture soil, you get something low CEC soil that doesn't hold that much nitrogen, you need to come back and put something or plant something at this stage to make sure you're good to make your home run. So let's see what our actual data says about that nitrogen application. So first one is the side dress. This data came from Dr. Rick Mascagni, who studies 15 years of data. It's a very good study about side dress. Sorry, not side dress, like starter nitrogen. So out of 15 years, he got only 5 years responsive. Why only 5 years responsive? It's just a 33% like accuracy of putting starter. Let's see how much putting we are in the starter. 1034, 0. We apply typically 4 to 5 gallon per acre. That gives us only 5 to 6 pounds nitrogen at planting. That 5 to 6 pound nitrogen is not good enough to fill the gap from planting to V6 stage. Look at this curve again. How much nitrogen we are getting? At least 25 pounds, but we are providing only 5 pounds by this starter fertilizer. So we are not providing enough. Probably if we have phosphorus deficiency and we are providing enough phosphorus, that way we see some yield response. Due to phosphorus, it's not due to nitrogen actually, through the starter. So what's our alternative plan? Well, we can put a single application at different stages. That actually came from Arkansas when I was doing my PhD, and it's from Dr. Trent Robert Groves. He served as my PhD committee member. So what he did, basically 220 pounds nitrogen, that's our goal for irrigated silkworm corn. And he put at different stages, a single application, pre-plant, B6, B6, B8, B10, B12, and at trusseling. The data is four site years data. You see there is no yield difference if you put plant V, like a pre-plant to all the way V12. 220 pounds nitrogen one shot, and you did not see any yield difference across site years, 4 years of data. When you put BT like pre-trusseling, you are losing yield. You are too far behind actually. But this is that's point I'm trying to make is you have a wide window to put out your nitrogen for corn. It's not that difficult. People think about managing corn, managing nitrogen in corn. The difficulty is you need to make sure if you put, you're not losing that nitrogen. If you lose it, then that's not going to happen. So if you put all pre-plant and you got excessive rainfall, or your soil, you have a sandy soil, you may lose some and not getting that 200 plus bushels yield. So these 3 years is all our silt loam soil. It was an ideal year. It's cooler year. I was there, and it's have adequate rainfall, not excessive, not less rainfall, and it's a furrow irrigated land. So it was the ideal year. That's why we see this type of data. So, but it is a little risky business. So we can split. Let's see how the split works. Let's think about the splitting, like 220 pounds nitrogen, how we can split it. We can put a little bit pre-plant. You see, it's not a starter, it's a pre-plant dose. If it is a starter, it's only 5 pounds, right? Pre-plant is 30 pounds. Then come back to V6, V8 stage. That's a critical stage that you need to apply enough nitrogen. Most of the nitrogen is applied there. Then come back to P-tassel, see what's happened. If it runs out a little bit here, you can cover. I'm not talking about that. This is a proposed thing, see how it works. Well, he already evaluated that, the split application, and see how it works versus single application. So he put 220 pounds nitrogen, again, from the Arkansas Trent Roberts data, across 4 site years data. He put 0, that's a control, 220 pounds as a side dress, V6, V8 stage, 1 application. This is P-tasseling, 1 application only. This is the split, 2-way split. One is P-plant 30 units, 190 units as side dress. Then you are increasing your P-plant application 60, 90, and decreasing your side dress. Then at the end, this is your ideal split. So what's the point I'm trying to say? You don't see that much yield difference, but see, if you put your P-plant higher rate, you are losing yield. So you really don't need pre-plant that much. You just need to cover from planting to V6 stage. And that time you need only 20 to 30 pounds nitrogen. You don't need too much. If you put too much, you are losing yield. If you put little bit, either a two-way split or a 3-way split, you are getting same yield across, you are getting the maximum yield because you already planned that. Whatever you are losing, you are putting more. You are putting the amount to compensate that loss. So this is the ideal thing. But my point is, do I need that P-tassel application, or we just follow this? One is pre-plant or one is side dress. Well, that is debatable. Somebody says, yes, we need to do a one shot at pre-tassel. Somebody said, no, 2-way split is enough, right? It's cost money as well. Let's say we have some tools to evaluate whether we need a P-tassel application or not. Let's talk about this. We need to evaluate our condition. Is not a one answer, yes, you need the P-tassel application, or it's not another answer, no, you don't need. You need to evaluate your condition, your farm, then to identify whether you need that P-tassel application or not. Let's talk about what's the condition. Then I said, what's the answer would be? It depends, right? So the condition would be if you have excessive rainfall, that makes that, and poorly drained soil, that makes that saturated condition, there is a chance to lose nitrogen. Then you can think about, if I put that much nitrogen at P-side dress at V6, V10 stage, I may lose some nitrogen as well. Then how are we going to determine that? Well, we have 2 tools in the toolbox. One is taking tissue sample to get the nitrogen concentration. The other one is the strip, reference strip to take the NDVI reading. We have 2 nice tools. These first tools developed in Arkansas, the second tools developed by LSU by Brenda Tubania. I'll talk about more of this. So let's talk about the first tools, what we have, tissue nitrogen concentration. So you can take the tissue sample from V10 to R1 stage. And if your nitrogen, leaf nitrogen concentration is less than 3%, you need to put fertilizer to make you to home run, actually, to get your goal, 200 plus bushel yield. If you have more than 3%, you are good. But if there is a 2 sampling difference, just pay attention to it. If you take a tissue sample before tasseling, you take the uppermost leaf. If it is at tasseling or later tasseling, you take the ear leaf. So there is a difference. So depends on when you are taking sample and what sample you need to take. If you take ear leaf before tasseling, you are misinterpreting the results. So make sure you get the correct tissue at the right stage. So there is another tool that is called cornstalk nitrate concentration, nitrate nitrogen concentration. If you miss any V stage and you already reach at R1 stage and you still like to see whether you have a nitrogen deficiency in your field, you have another option to take a cornstalk from the very bottom, like from leave the 6 inch, then take the 1 foot cornstalk sample. Then get the nitrate concentration. This time it is not a nitrogen, it's a nitrate concentration. Make sure you ask the lab for correct analysis. And if your nitrate concentration come back less than 170 ppm, then you need to put nitrogen. If you over 170 ppm, another point, at R1 stage, you take both ear leaf, also cornstalk nitrogen. That value gives you more accurate prediction than anything else. So if you take, again, I'm just revising this. If you take before tasseling, just take your uppermost leaf, that's only leaf. If you reach to the point at silking, take both tissue, ear leaf, as well as your cornstalk, and get both value to accurately predict whether you need to put a third shot or second shot. So the second tool we have is a reference strip. It's very easy to establish and very easy to monitor. What you need to do in your cornfield, you just make one pass of nitrogen application twice X-ray. Make it more green. That's your reference strip. And do everything else just as standard rate. And there is a lots of things. That's the two big guy, very famous, Dennis and RL, working on with the Brenda Tubania to fix this. I really like to acknowledge them for their hard work. And that's the practice is going on. You have several tools to take the NDVI reading right now. That's the most common green sticker people use, but they are using cross circle as well. That's another tool. So let's look at what we are taking. Well, when whether you need to do the third application, what you need to do at V10, V12 stage, you go over to their reference strip, take the NDVI reading, and take another NDVI reading from your standard practice. Plug these two reading over here, NDVI. And your maximum yield is set twice. If you have a 2 bushels goal, put 400 bushels. Then put your planting date and sensing date. You get the recommendation whether you need to put that fertilizer, additional fertilizer or not. So this is a very easy tool and easy to establish in every field, rather than taking tissue sample. I'm not telling you one is better than other, but if you can afford both or at least one to predict whether you need to apply your third application. And again, that's all works. I'm acknowledging Brenda Tubania for her hard work. So let's think about, if we predict we need to put a nitrogen for the third shot, or we did not do anything, no reference strip, no tissue sampling, but we see some water standing in our plot for a long time. Then we think about like a saturated soil, think about third application. Last year I conducted that experiment in 2 locations. One is Macon Ridge, cross the road in Winsboro, and one is St. Joe. We put 200 to 220 pounds at V6 stage, and that's 50 pounds at V12 to 14 stage. There is nothing we put. Then we put 3 different sources, UAN, urea, ammonium nitrate. We did not see a difference across source, but we see a yield raise like 10 bushels yield bump, just applying this much nitrogen at pre-tassel stage. So again, this not going to work every time. If you have an ideal situation, you may not need this. If you have a condition that tells you, or if you have a tissue sample comes back deficiency, you need to apply this nitrogen. So let's summarize what we are looking at our nitrogen management. Let's think about our two different soil types, silt loam and clay, and we put little bit tree plant. Again, the clay requires more nitrogen than silt loam because it dries up a little bit and it has a like complex route to get to the plant. So we put little bit at tree plant, we come side dress and take a tissue sample from B10 to R1 stage. If the tissue concentration comes back less than 3%, more than 3%, no nitrogen needed. If come back less than 3%, we need to put a third shot. Or if the reference strip tells you there is a recommendation, you need to put that third strip. There is another way to look at whether you put extra nitrogen at the end of the season, just to look at your management. Because if you put 250 pounds this year, you may need to think about, well, I can cut back 20 units next year. So make sure before you cut back your nitrogen rate, you can check this. There is another tool at the end of the season, at the harvesting season, R6 stage, you can take a corn stalk nitrogen, the same way you did at R1 stage. Same way you can take that sample at harvesting, that gives you the corn stalk nitrogen, corn stalk nitrate nitrogen analysis. And if the nitrate nitrogen analysis comes down to less than 170, that's at the R1 stage was, you are good. You are adequately fertilized your field. If it comes to 170 to 1000 ppm, you are on the critical zone. If more than 1000 ppm, if this value is 4000 ppm, you actually put 160 unit over fertilize your field. So that's another management tool you have in your toolbox at the end of the season. It's not going to help you on that particular season, but eventually the next season you can think about, do I need to cut back 20 or 30 pounds of nitrogen from our nitrogen management program? That's the tool you can do that. Okay, before I finish, why not? It's moving.
Hold on a second. I'm technical difficulty. I'll just change the battery.
If you have any question so far?
Okay. Back on that screen.
Put it back on that screen.
Click with your mouse. When she moved the.
This one, yes. Yeah. That one was here.
Yeah.
Try it again.
Now try it.
Now try it. There you go.
There you go.
Okay. What was your question, sir?
I was just wondering how much lag time there was between the tissue sample and getting your results back.
That's a good question. That's not in my hand. Like, well, I don't know how to answer these things. But you have lots of commercial lab that you can tell that turn up very quickly. Our lab, that's a really is the optimum season. I don't know how, probably a week or so. I really don't know that answer. That's first time.
It's usually within a week. I mean, you send it on Monday, you'll get it back Thursday.
Okay. So it's within a week. Yes.
On the previous slide, comparing the silt and the clay, 290 units on clay, is that, what year did that end up being? Is that a heavy rain, was it ideal? Is that, what was the situation on that?
Okay, that's a sharky clay, heavy clay. And it's just to show it's not exact amount like you have to plan for your field. is just to show how to break down these things, actually. But obviously, if your siltum requires 220 pounds, if your clay will require over 250 pounds, if it is the same yield goal.
Back to your slide that had your splits on it.
Yeah. Okay.
No, keep going. Keep
Got a
going.
question online
Keep
too.
going.
Okay, we'll have to answer that at the end.
So I can finish that slide, then go back that. Can I finish the presentation? I have one more slide to finish.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Okay, before I finish this, I like to just review this information. You already know that. To better manage our nitrogen, we have some tools to help utilize our nitrogen management better. We have some nitrogen stabilizer. One is urease inhibitor, one is nitrification inhibitor. Do you need that? The answer is it depends. How you managing your nitrogen. Make sure you know this mode of action, what is for what. Because most of the time, we just put that things, we don't know even we not need that. So one is the volatilization loss that temporarily inhibits the conversion of urea to ammonium. That's the urease. So if you use urea, say for example, and you don't incorporate it, you need this product. If you use urea and you incorporate it, you don't need this. Even if you put the UAN and dibbling on the surface of the soil, you have a 50% urea in it, right? You need this product. If you inject it, you don't need this. What about the next one, nitrification inhibitor? That delays the conversion of ammonium to nitrate, right? That's the denitrification process. It inhibits the denitrification process. Well, it's under the soil, right? Let's think about if you incorporate, you have a nitrate, like you have a rainfall and it's saturated soil. You lose nitrate through denitrification, leaching, or runoff. Then you need that product. You don't need this one, but you may need this one if you even incorporate that. So make sure we understand what product we need and when we need. Well, at the pre-cell stage, when the root system is already robust and you have a rapid uptake, you are putting only 50 units or 40 units of nitrogen, you may not need any of this product. That I showed you, we put urea, we put UAN, we put ammonium nitrate, we did not put any stabilizer. Even we did see a yield bump, and there is no different across your sources. So make sure, because that product costs, anything costs money. That product costs money. You understand the mode of action, there is lots of product. It's not an exhaustive list. There is probably another 15 products in the market. So it is critical to know the mode of action and when to use and why to use, right? So what's the key take-home messages we are getting? What is the pre-plant application? Why I'm recommending pre-plant application? That gives you a wide window to put your side dress. If you don't pre-plant, it is not a side dress, it is not a starter. Pre-plant is different than a starter. A starter is only 5 pounds. Pre-plant about 30 pounds that we are looking at least. So if you put a pre-plant, you have a wide window to manage your side dress. If you probably don't, you have a rainfall at V6 stage, well, you still have a window to put at V8. If you miss V8, probably V9. If you have that pre-plant application up front, so you have a wide window. Then come back to your side dress and find the ideal condition that you can side dress it and keep that nutrient probably up to harvest. Probably you don't need the third application. Well, if you need the third application based on your tissue sampling, then think about your tissue sampling or the reference strip. Then finally, what I'm emphasizing, you need other nutrient as well to get 200 bushels yield. So pay attention to your other nutrient as well. It's not only nitrogen. So be smart on cutting on any other nutrient. That's it. Thank you. Yes.
Question online. He was asking about why drop application of nitrogen. Was it a good idea or the same results as using urea?
Flying urea?
Repeat the question, so the.
Okay, the question was, wide drop application at pre-tasseling is the same idea than just flying urea. Wide drop application has a better efficiency to utilize because it's putting the nitrogen close to the root system rather than flying urea. I don't have any data to support at this time, but I would like just educated guess would be wide drop would be more efficient that Midwest is using than flying urea, if you have that technology ready.
Go back to your slide where you had your splits, your table with your yields on your split application.
Okay. Yes.
So how did y'all put the 30, the pre-plant nitrogen, the 30 units at front? How did you do that?
Is the urea is incorporated at planting or at the time when the bed makes the broadcast and reheap the bed.
How would you change that if you weren't doing side dress and you were doing granular on that, like the 190? Would you that up? Would you?
What was the question again?
Would you increase that because it's going to be a little less efficient than side dressing if guys are using all granular and not any UAN on that 190? Would you increase that?
No. The nitrogen rate would be same regardless of your source. The thing is, the critical point is how you are managing it. If you broadcast everywhere, some is on your furrow, you are losing. So it depends on how you are managing. So management is more important than increasing rate or source. So if they incorporate it or put in a way with a stabilizer close to the root system or on the top of the bed, the rate would gonna be same. Yes, sir.
How stable is fall applied P and K?
How stable is that?
Repeat the questions.
Okay, how stable fall applied P and K is versus spring application you're thinking about, like P and K in fall versus spring application. Well, there is a misconception about P and K application in fall. Well, the misconception is lots of producer or thinks about they need a wide window of time to get the P and K in place because it's all rocks. It takes time to dissolve and gets available to the plant. It's not the true. You can put P and K if you can at planting. It dissolves within 7 days if you have a rainfall over a quarter-inch rain. It dissolves and becomes immediately available for your plant uptake. So, well, we don't have that chance at planting, so we put and fall. That's fine, but depends on your soil type. If you have a clay, I wouldn't hesitate to put out in fall. If you have a silt loam or low CEC soil that leaves your potassium, I would go at planting if I can.